maybe.
Wow, so you have already experience in that area,
Yeah,
don't you?
yeah. But
you know, Venus, in Vedic astrology, Venus is the planet of the teacher. Both Jupiter and Venus. Jupiter is the planet of the spiritual teacher, while Venus is the astrologer. In Vedic astrology, Venus rules the astrologer, and your Venus is placed in the first house of passive life. So career is indicated by the 10th and first house, actually much more by the first house, planets in the first house. And you having such a powerful Venus there, you're a natural-born teacher.
Oh.
And Venus is a teacher of practical nature. When a person comes to you and asks you to help them evaluate the situation, whether Venus evaluates, you know, it's like, is this worth it or no? And this is what astrologers do, you know, when they come and they say, shall I take that guy or that guy? Which one is worth it? And you help people make up their minds in this way, a teacher, you know, teacher of helping others evaluate and judge properly, practically things. And you should teach, you know, you should teach, and you should get out there and become, you know, put your name out there and focus yourself on that, you know. And my soul planet is Venus as well. The soul planet is found out by the planets with the highest degree. So if your soul, and it's responsible for the career, or planets in the 10th house or in the first house. So in your case, career is very much connected to Venusian activities like teaching, advising others, consulting others, giving help to others, you know, or maybe you can connect it towards women and towards love in that direction. And which is your highest degree planet of the visible ones?
Well, I think Saturn is at like 26 Leo, and it's depending on how you do the houses. It's either at the
end. Yeah, and Saturn is in Leo as well, yeah.
Yes, at 26.
And Saturn is the only planet that doesn't give professions. But if there is another planet in the same sign of Saturn, this becomes the profession planet. This is the soul planet, and for you, it's Venus.
Oh,
and
wow.
Venus is definitely your career planet. These are ancient Vedic techniques that work amazingly. You know, a lot of Western astrologers, they try and judge profession by looking at planets in the 10th house or the rule of the 10th house, and I've seen it work very slightly, you know, maybe 20%. But with these techniques, it's amazing how correct it is. You know, you can see probably up to 70% chance to find the right vocation of the person. But anyway, I'm digressing. We're talking about love, and I think you wanted also to talk about karmic love, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. So how do you know when you, if you meet somebody, or if you could, either when you meet somebody, what are some indicators to look for that not only is there the possibility of true love, but there's true love that will last maybe 30, 40, 50 years and get better over time?
Yeah, one of the things, actually, is looking at the north and south nodes. If you have connection of your planets, it doesn't have to be an exact aspect. It can be just in the same sign. For instance, pay attention where your south node is and see if in that same sign your partner has any planets. This will indicate what relationships you had in the past life, usually. If it's Mercury there in the same sign as the south node, or the opposite, if your Mercury is there in the same sign as your partner's south node, it will indicate that probably you were siblings in a past life or friends. If Venus is there, very often you are spouses or married, you had a love relationship. If it's Jupiter signifies children in Vedic, not in only Vedic, but in occult, like past life astrology. So if it's Jupiter connection, you either teach a student or a child to you, you know. If it's Saturn connection, it's very likely that it was like some authority figure in your life, a father, a grandmother. If it's the moon, of course, it's a mother connection through one of the person was a mother and a parental figure. And the sun, and you know, you can go through all the planets to see what the significations are and what kind of connection you had in past life. But how the things will be developing in this one, and what you have to focus in, is indicated by the north node connections. Basically, in Vedic astrology, it's called Rahu. In Western, it's called north node. Check out, for instance, if the north node of one of the people falls in the sign of the ascendant of the other one. That's a very strong indication that you can have a strong and long productive relationship, because the north node indicates the karma that you have to make in this life. And if you have a connection with the north node to the sun of the other person, the moon, or any other planet, which is more of the personal planets like Venus or Mercury or the sun or the moon or the ascendant, it's indicated that in this life you have a lot of karma to go through, actually to create, you know. because Rahu shows the path that you have to go in. So these are connections between Rahu and the planets of one person and the North Node. Let me talk for Western astrologers who can understand. If you have connections of the North Node with the planets of the other or with the ascendant, it's indications that this relationship can last much longer. If you have much more connections between the South Node, Ketu, with the planets of the other person, then it's indication that it's actually a resolving karma from the past, and this person might not be too long in your life. You have something to complete with him, because the South Node completes karma. And when you complete it, you might part your ways. For instance, Demi Moore and Ashton Kutcher, they have mostly connections between the South Nodes. I think his South Node was in Scorpio, where she had a lot of planets, and her South Node was in Aquarius, where she had a lot of planets. I'm not quite sure. But it's a very karmic past life relationship. You get together, you complete the karma, and you part usually later on, a few years later. But often people marry with South Node connections because they feel immediately so familiar. I and my current boyfriend, we have very strong South Node connections. And when we met from the first day, we were already talking about children, and we felt like we've known each other forever. We were so comfortable with each other. And if you have connections of your South Node with another person's ascendant or planet, you very quickly feel comfortable around them and connected. But usually, with time, the feelings wane more and more because the South Node has diminishing influence. So it saps out, it empties out this connection. With time, it becomes less and less, especially if the South Node is connected to the Venus of the other person. Initially, you'll have very strong love. You'll feel very strong love because it's almost like you're continuing a marriage from a past life. But with time, maybe over 10 years or 5 or 10 years, or might be shorter even, this wanes out. You get less of it because the South Node, it has emptying influence, as we said. And if it's the North Node with Venus, for instance, it will give you more and more. The more you're with this person, the more you'll have desire for them, the more affection you'll be getting more and more in life. So the North Node connections are indicative of more longer relationships, and such that it's like a hook. The North Node is like a hook that hooks you and makes you create further karma with this person, further developments in this life. So often these are the more long-lasting relationship and the more intense and passionate relationship, because the North Node has an influence of obsession almost, especially in Vedic astrology. They describe it as a demon with a mouth that has no body, so it wants more and more and more to take, and it gets kind of insatiable. So it's good in a relationship.
Oh, that sounds great. We want that.
Connection.
We want that.
Because you want to be insatiable. While Ketu has a more spiritual, emptying influence. It's very comfortable. You feel very comfortable there with the person, but it becomes kind of boring with time if you have too many Ketu connections. But you can have very peaceful and easy relationships, when you have very strong South Node connections. Sorry, I keep saying Ketu, but Ketu is the South Node in astrology, in the Western astrology.
Our listeners are pretty bright. They can keep up.
Good. I'm glad about that, yeah. So I've definitely seen this working. So a bit very strong South Node connections take away a bit of the spark. Initially, it creates a strong one because you recognize each other from past lives, and you feel very comfortable. But later on, it wanes a bit more. But for instance, it's very good to have Saturn connected to the South Node of another person, because Saturn and Mars, the two difficult planets, if they are in the same sign as your partner's South Node, it indicates that you'll be getting less and less. Initially, when you connect in the relationship, you have a lot of Saturn and Mars issues. You will have, like problems, obstacles, more arguments. But the more you're together, the less they become, because Ketu has this emptying influence, so you get less arguments and less difficulties and obstacles given by Saturn. And you resolve this past karma of difficulties, of arguments or Saturn oppression or whatever it was from the past, which Saturn signifies, or Mars, which is usually anger and which is usually a great oppression in some way. And you resolve it in this life, and you become more and more, the relationship, if initially was full of obstacles, later on becomes much smoother. But if you have, for instance, the South Node with Saturn or Mars, you can expect, not the South Node, the North Node with Saturn or Mars, in the chart of the other person, you can expect to have more and more arguments or difficulties and obstacles in life. Or the other person can act as a taskmaster for you. If it's the Saturn connection, he comes here to be your taskmaster. For instance, one of my best friends, we have Saturn. Her Saturn is on my north node. In Leo, in the same sign, and she's very strict towards me, and I really much feel this Saturn influence. You feel more and more and the more our friendship grows, the more she's strict towards me, and she's telling me how to behave. She's like a moral teacher to me, and she's kind of bossing me around a bit. This is Saturn qualities, authoritarian. And sometimes such relationship can be a bit more difficult, but of course they have their reason to be in your life. Maybe you need more Saturn energy in your life, and that's why you're more disciplined, self-control. That's why you're attracting person who has their Saturn on your north node, or you'll be playing the role of the Saturn person if your Saturn is with the north node of another one. But it's great when you see the ascendant with the north node of another person, because this person helps you be yourself, helps you develop yourself on the path. If you have, and it really connects you for a long time. If you have Venus, you're getting more and more affection, and it gets more and you're teaching the other person how to love and how to have more self-worth. This is great. North Node and Venus. Mercury is the planet of friendship and communication. So you have more and more communication with this person. This person might be teaching you to communicate better, to express yourself better. You can develop very good friendship with this person. Even if you're married, you'll be intense, much more like friends if you have North Node Mercury connection. Mercury is also hobbies and interests, things that like games that you play together. And these people will often find that they have more and more similar hobbies together when they're together. They will enjoy doing more and more things, and maybe they'll encourage each other to discover new fields of interest and new skills, which is also the field of Mercury. And if it's Jupiter, for instance, with the North Node, Jupiter is wealth, is abundance, is faith. So you'll be getting more and more from this person. You can have a good business relationship with someone who has their North Node on your Jupiter or reverse, because these two people will contribute to making each other more wealthy and more fortunate, And you can teach, it's very good also for this person bringing wisdom into your life. So you see how it works, how these things work out. It's quite interesting and fascinating, I think I was